everybody. Rita, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Mrs. Doherty?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Roche?
Here.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Chairman Smith?
Here. Thank you, Rita. You've had the minutes in advance of the meeting. I hope you've had a chance to read the minutes of the meeting of October 24th. We did not have a November meeting. Does anybody have any comments, corrections, deletions, etc. to be made? Not that I have a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the Architectural Review and Planning Board of October the 24th.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Rita?
Mr. Doherty?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roche?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones? Yes. Chairman Smith?
Yes. Are there any additions or withdrawals, deferrals, or arrangements to the agenda items which are below? There are 2 items on the agenda. Are you okay with the order?
Staff has none.
Thank you. You see future meeting dates. There's one in January, February, March, and April. There are regular scheduled dates. If anybody isn't going to make any of those meetings, I'd appreciate it if you let Rita or someone here know as soon as you do. Now we'll start the public portion of the meeting. Does anybody need to declare any ex parte communication? No. Thank you. Rita, would you administer the oath to all those who may speak today?
Please stand and raise your right hand and make sure that we have your name at the end of the meeting. You swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, Rita. The first item is an application by the Little Club to be presented by Brian Donahue. Don, Brian here? Yes. There he is.
Good morning, members of the board. Brian Donahue with Insight Studio here on behalf of the Little Club. I'm also here with the architect, Glidden Spina, Keith Spina, and Colleen from their office, as well as members from the club and the manager, Rob Leonard. We're here before you this morning to request a level 2 site plan approval for a renovation and a small expansion to the existing clubhouse. 848 square feet of additional square footage will be added to the building. The roof tile will be replaced. There will be some minor modifications to the roof as well. Door and windows will be replaced. The architectural facade will see some small changes. And additionally, there will be hardscape and landscape enhancements associated with the project. For orientation purposes, I think we all know we've got to know each other pretty good here over the last several months with the pickleball project. But Little Club is here just about 3/4 of a mile south of Woolbright Road on the west side of Ocean Boulevard. Highlighted in red on the screen is the portion of the property where the clubhouse is located. We're recreational future land use with the recreation zoning district. Here's some existing condition photos just showing the clubhouse as it exists today. You can see some of the existing vegetation. Some of that will be modified. I'll go through that in a little more detail when I speak about the landscape. Basically, you can see the front entrance to the club there on the bottom right, the right side of the clubhouse on the top right, and then the left side of the clubhouse. This is the front facade or north facade of the building. Here's the rear facade of the building, just showing some of the existing vegetation. On the top right, you can see the small patio that exists today. That's where a portion of the building will be expanded. And then on the left side of the screen, you see the other area where there is a small expansion totaling 848 square feet for both of those. Here is a rendering of the clubhouse site. We're not proposing any changes to the parking area, vehicular circulation, cart circulation. It's strictly a interior renovation. The 2 areas highlighted in orange on the south portion of the building are the expansions, again 848 square feet. You can see there's some new patio spaces that I'll speak a little bit more about when I talk about the hardscape and landscape. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Keith Spina with Glidden Spina to speak about the architectural enhancements.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone. My name is Keith Spina with Glidden Spina and Partners. I also have Colleen Shaw, our project architect. If it gets too complicated, I'm going to ask Colleen because she's really running this project. But it's nice to be here today. I always think, when I drive I live in the south end of West Palm Beach on the east side, but when I drive a little farther south, I always feel like I've gone on vacation, so it's nice to be here. I'm not on vacation today, but it feels like it. When we got involved in the project, it was kind of interesting because not only is the name Little Club, but it is a relatively small project. And we had some, they set us loose, said, hey, we'd like to kind of really just slightly improve on a couple of things at the club. And, being architects and designers, we got a little carried away. And one day we were in a meeting over at the club, and a couple of really bright people, that some of the members said, what is all this stuff? Seems it's really pretty, but it doesn't seem like it's our club. And we stepped back for a moment, and it was a brilliant moment. Thank God for us listening for once. And we listen a lot. But it was, they reminded us that it's the little club. We want to do some tiny improvements to it to continue to elevate the quality of the service and the experience for the members. But we just want it to be the same. And so that's really what it is. There's not a whole lot that, I always like to think if you went away for the season and we did all the construction and we got done and you came back, we almost don't think you'd notice what changed, with the exception that there'll be some new finishes and the dining experience or your experience, after golf might be just a little bit nicer than what it was, although it was really wonderful to begin with. So as you can see on the screen, the two green areas are areas where we've added square footage to the building. I think the existing building is about 11,500 square feet, and we've added 848 square feet, as Brian mentioned. And it was just to really improve the area around the bar, and then to improve an area, and as part of the dining experience, but mostly just to help provide a couple of different types of dining experience. Some of the members like to come to the club and they still want to wear a jacket, they still want to sit and have a nice quiet dinner, and they don't want to hear what's going on with a lot of the activity in the bar area. And so with this slight modification and expansion of the building, we have the ability to do that. So this is the existing north elevation, and you can see above is the existing and below is the proposed. Again, I don't think you'd really notice a whole lot. There are a couple little modifications to a couple windows, and we are expanding a little bit of the back area. We're modifying the roof a little bit to do two things. One, to increase the ceiling height, but another one that's really significant is to help screen the mechanical equipment that's on the roof. South elevation, same kind of thing. If you squint your eyes, it looks the same with the exception of the little corner treatment at one of the dining rooms where we have kind of the octagonal shaped space, and that's just a part of the dining room that we think really takes advantage of the golf course views, creates an opportunity where you could have a very small dining venue, but other than that, the majority of the facade remains very similar. The front of the building, with the exception of landscape, essentially stays the same. And the back looks, again, with the octagonal surface, looks a little different, but the shape, the architectural style, it was an easy one for us. Well, what are you going to make it look like? We're going to continue to make it look like the Little Club, and that's all there was, to that. And then I guess I can turn it back over to Brian for some landscape and hardscape, and then I'm available. Colleen and I are both available if there's any questions.
Thank you, Keith. So just to speak quickly about the landscape, I'll jump back to the last couple of slides. In the front there, if you remember from some of the existing photos, there's really no rhyme or rhythm to the landscape design. There's a lot of things that have been added over time, so we're trying to clean it up and simplify it to work, with the simplicity of the architecture. So we're proposing a couple Sylvester date palms on either side of the entryway with some flowering hibiscus trees. And then from there, we're going for a very clean and simple look. So we're doing podocarpus hedge with dwarf collusia along the front. Is going to kind of have this, Palm Beach-esque type of look. And the rear, and I'll get to a plan in a second, but over on the left side is the new patio space. There's also a fire pit there that I'll explain in plan view further, but we've added some palm trees around that. Those are Christmas palms just to provide a small canopy area, and we don't feel they'll block the views. And then where the octagonal portion of the architecture is located, there's an expanded patio space there as well. We didn't want to block views from there, lots of windows, so we kept it very open. We put a couple of hibiscus trees on the side. The one palm tree you see in the middle is actually an existing palm tree that we're going to preserve. Here's a view of the new patio spaces. So on the west side there you see the expanded patio with a small pergola to the west end of it, and then as you come south from there, there's a small fire pit space with the palm trees that I mentioned flanking it. So this just provides an additional experience for the members to dine outdoors during season when the weather's great. On the east side, there's the small expanded patio. That's going to be a multi-purpose space. It could be used for outdoor dining, but also it may double for some of the golf events because it's very in close proximity to the cart staging and the first tee. Here's the tree disposition plan. So we are removing some trees, mainly palm trees that are smaller. So we have 7 Robolini date palms that are going to be removed. A couple of guava trees that are going to come out. Those are smaller trees. The couple of bigger trees that are actually out there, there's some nice ligustrum. We've worked with the Little Club and they've agreed that they're willing to relocate those to the golf course. So those are larger, mature ligustrums. They're nice specimens, so we are going to relocate those. And then the sable palms that are on the property are going to be relocated as well. And here's our landscape plan. It's a black and white drawing from here. You can't really decipher much. I'm happy to dive into it more, but again, very clean and simple Palm Beach look is what we're going for. That does conclude our presentation this morning. We're here for questions. With that, I'll open it up. Thank you.
Andy? All right, let me first ask you some simple questions. You see you're putting a patio out front. That's sort of a new feature off that the way you met for cocktails. Are you gonna have tables and chairs out there, or is it just an architectural feature?
Yeah, one of the things that, is so special about the Little Club is when you're inside the dining rooms, you get to see this beautiful, landscaping out back. What we started to recognize is with a little bit of, Brian's treatment of the landscaping out front, we could beautify the front facade, but we have a multi-purpose room on the front of the building that could use as cars, but also could be used as a private area for reception before dinner or a small party. We thought it would be really nice to beautify the front of the building, and so we put a couple of doors so you could open it up and be able to see. We don't really envision it being an outdoor dining area, but someone could sit out there or stand out there, while they're having dinner. We just thought it would just add bringing the outside into that space. Thought it would just be a big improvement on the space. So,
Is there a feature in that? I can't tell what it is. Is it just a bench you've shown in that? There's a little. I'm looking on.
Yeah, I don't.
A1, there's a bench or a water feature or
Water
something? Water? Yeah. Okay.
We don't have everyone in there, but you can see the patio there.
Yeah, that's the patio. Does this point? Point on the monitor.
Yeah, there's a little, I can't tell what it is.
Yeah, Brian, do we talk about a water feature? I don't know if there's been that much thought gone into it other than we thought it would be a beautiful little outdoor space that as you're in that private space inside the private dining, you'd be able to open the doors. Or at night, there'd be a couple little landscape lights and you'd be able to look out of the room and see something pretty.
So you're not looking onto the car park?
Not looking to the parking lot, right. That was the benefit, right?
Well, you're gonna hedge it high enough so that you're not looking at it?
Yes,
Parking lot?
yes.
Okay. Do you ever anticipate covering the new, the new feature, the octagonal buildings? It's got a beautiful patio around it. You ever anticipate covering any of that?
So that was another really interesting kind of learning experience when we came out, we saw this beautiful back of the club looking out over the golf course. And we said, wouldn't it be great to fill this with patio and chairs and umbrellas? And what we learned very quickly is membership said, no, it wouldn't, because we want to sit inside of our dining room and look outside and enjoy the golf course. So as you can see in the center, which is the main dining, there is nothing in front of it other than beautiful landscaping. And that was a really important part of what membership wanted. And so we don't think there would be anything more. We don't think on a regular basis there'll even be chairs and tables out there because people don't want to look at chairs and tables. They want to look at the beautiful landscaping and the golf course and the views out of those areas. So.
Aren't those little X's though, chairs?
They're showing the possibility if one day there's a golf event and they want to set up a couple of chairs and tables to have coffee before they start golfing, they would do that. But on a regular basis, clubs, in general, clubs like this, you want to have flexibility for a bunch of different things to happen. And so we show the possibility that you could have, but membership made it very clear, we do not want to look at tables and chairs when we're sitting in our beautiful dining room. We want to see the golf course and the views that we've always enjoyed, which was interesting. It was.
I thought it might be for outdoor dining during the regular season.
There may be, but membership was clear, we don't wanna sit in our dining room, look out over a bunch of tables and
Yeah.
people, so.
And just one final question, it's maybe more architectural height. The height of the roof on the new octagonal building, is it gonna be no higher than the peak of the roof on the main building? Or is it gonna be above that? I can't quite tell from the, looks like it's.
The octagonal is not gonna be higher than the main building, yes,
The
correct.
ridge line of the main building.
Yep, here it is, yeah.
Makes it jump.
Any questions?
What, the roof tile, are you doing, what are you proposing?
Replacing it with the same white cement.
White,
cement
flat,
tile. Yes,
concrete.
yep, yep.
Just to the right-hand side, you've got all the detail of the windows, the octagonal, and then massing would be too strong a word because you know we're against massing, but it's a bit like it's flat. And faux windows or something, it just seems that you've got all this wonderful detail and then it's blank.
That's where the powder room.
Yeah. So I was thinking if you had faux windows or, I mean, it's not for us from a design point of view, it's just, it's a beautiful building and then it's a bit like, okay, you've got this
Yeah,
blank area.
yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, we could clearly add some, you know, it is the locker rooms, which
Yeah.
is always, you know, it's an interesting thing. Wouldn't it wonderful to have light in the locker room? Isn't it weird that we can see into the locker room?
Yeah, but no, not to actually have windows
Yeah,
there.
but no, we could put some shutters, we could put
It
windows.
just, yeah, faux windows, it just, you've got all this wonderful detail and going across and then it ends.
Yeah, I'm looking at it there, I think it's a pretty, you know, good statement. But I'm sure we can do something to
Well,
really
it's not my
improve.
place on the architecture,
that
it's just
facade.
from, you know, it's within code and whatever, but it's
Yeah.
just, you've got this wonderful features and the windows and
Yeah.
so it ends.
Good point. I'm sure we could do something to improve that.
Maybe landscaping, could be espalier trees,
Yeah, yeah.
or something.
Certainly.
Real beautiful.
Any questions or comments from anyone in the public? No? No? Staff? City manager?
All I would say is, I mean, if there's gonna be something done to that side, either faux windows or landscaping, we need to make sure that in our recommendations that we, you know, qualify it by adding, you know, that something will be put there. And my question to the board would be, do you want them to, obviously, you probably don't want them to come back with some kind of plan.
We could work with your staff, maybe
Yeah,
to show
is it
them.
okay?
Do we want it the landscaping or architectural feature?
Yeah, I think the landscape, as you say, I mean, espalier on that wall would
Landscaping.
be really pretty.
Yeah.
Landscaping
Yeah.
rather than have a faux
Yeah.
feature.
I agree.
It just, it would break up
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and it's,
Excuse me, go ahead. Just 1 second. Go ahead.
well, no, let the gentleman speak and then I'll.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have some observations to make. I reviewed the plans that were in the town office. And my first comment is that I think the architect has done a wonderful job working with the Little Club and creating a very, very beautiful project. The artist renditions are very attractive and will certainly add to the community. A couple of things that I observed in the submission, I was looking at the total building area, that's increasing by 7.5%. I was looking at the hardscape increase going up 2.7%. And the drawing 1 SP3 done by Insight talks about parking spaces, and it says we're increasing from 67 to 79. I heard the architect say we're not increasing the parking spaces, but that's an 18% increase. And so I just asked the question, is the current parking space insufficient, or are they planning to add membership to the club and provide additional space for that parking? Just an observation. Another note is that when you come down Little Club Road from A1A, you're very much aware of an elevation change. And the parking lot is in the low point. And the northwest corner of the parking lot is underwater by several inches when we are inundated by our common storms that we have here. And so I didn't see anything on the plans or driving around the parking lot that indicates that there's any kind of a storm sewer system in the parking lot. And I'm wondering, how does that affect use of the club and what the community would expect? The final comment is Little Club Road is owned by 4 different parties. And to get from A1A to the Little Club, you have to drive over 149 feet of property owned by St. Andrews and 207 feet owned by the Hillside House. And I'm concerned that at the end of the project or during the project, that road will get beaten up by construction vehicles and heavy equipment, and perhaps will become less than usable by the neighbors, and as well, perhaps a problem for emergency vehicles to get in should they have to. So I'd like to just offer that as an observation, that condition that that road be maintained in a usable condition so that there's no problem with access. And my final observation, the application for this discusses about all elements are designed and arranged to have minimal impact on adjacent property, which is good. And it's designed and arranged to have minimal negative impact on use and enjoyment of adjoining properties. That's good. So property value and use of the property is fine. We're happy with that. The site plan that was submitted, what I did notice was that there's the site plan that shows the entire parking area up to the Hillside House does not show any designated area for a proposed pickleball court. And I am wondering how we reconcile the fact that this property and this project is for the peaceful use of the adjoining properties as well as the maintaining property values, but how the pickleball court could impact this, and how come it's a separate submission and not combined together, or how do we reconcile the two projects together in terms of use of the property? Those are my comments.
Get your name.
James Shelter.
I think that, I don't want to speak for the city manager, but I think that the potential damage to the roads or the storm drain or elevation issues aren't really being brought before us today.
Well, that's correct, and those roads are all private roads.
Any other questions or comments by the public? If not, Malcolm, am I making a motion?
No. I'd like to make a motion to approve a demolition permit for the construction of the roof and for the demolition of certain perimeter walls.
I second the motion.
Rita?
Mr. Dougherty?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Further, I'd like to
Chairman Smith?
Yes.
Further, I'd like to make a motion to approve a level 2 architectural site plan based on a finding that the renovation of the existing clubhouse, which includes 848 square feet in building additions, reconstruction of the roof, improvements to the architectural facade and landscape enhancement, meet the minimum intent of the design manual and applicable review standards with the following condition. Any minor modifications in the approved landscaping should be submitted to the town manager for review and approval, and any major modification should be brought back to the ARPB for review and approval prior to the commencement of landscaping.
I second.
Rita?
Mr. Dougherty?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Roach?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Smith?
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's great, guys.
Thank you.
Wow. All right, the second item
Wow.
Did I offend anybody?
Rusty, come on now.
I did watch this month. What have I done?
All right, this is Mr. Coopy is here to discuss with us shutter colors at 3112 Gulfstream Road. This is coming back to us from a project that had been approved on August 10th, 2018. You have the floor, Mr. Kupian.
Yes, you had asked us, when we came through the process, we brought in 2 shutter colors. One shutter color was what the owner had seen in the house in Bermuda when they were there. It's a little colorful. They loved the Town of Gulfstream logo so much, they sort of liked the sun. And that was one of the colors which is behind this. When I came through, we had this approved, this green, I'll call it sherbet, well, a light green. And this sherbet color is what the owner would like to do on the shutters of the house. The house is all white, the roof's white, everything's white. There's some cast stone on it, which is Dominican coral. And other than that, there's no color on the house. So the house that they'd seen in Bermuda that they loved had the sherbet colored shutters on it. When we came through the process, we had shown both, that we wanted to do both. I had mentioned that they wanted to do the orange, and the consensus was, why don't we wait until the house is going up and the walls are starting to get painted, and then come back with the 2 shutters, and we'll look at it so that we could really look at it in context. So that's why we're here.
You're saying that's green.
This is what you,
Colorblind.
well, this is a very light,
Up against white, I guess you'd show, put it up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
this is what you had approved. It's a very, very light green, and the lighting in here is fluorescent. It's a very, very light green, which is, if you've seen it on a few houses throughout the town.
Have we seen anything, approved kind
You
of
approved
in that,
the
that's what he's asking
original-
for, right, the orange?
Yes,
You
the
can
ori-
bring-
the original I came at, I gave both swatches of
Right.
both.
Yes, I
And-
recall. I think I recall.
The consensus was, this was approvable, you wanted to wait to see if that was approvable.
Right.
So, that's the color they'd like to do.
Can you bring that to the front?
Sure.
Yes, you clean it up next to the other one.
And this is on a flat thing. The louvers, it's an actual louver, so you're gonna have shadow in there, and there's form to it. It's not just a flat shutter. It's an actual inset louver shutter, so,
Is there not a variant of that that's a little less?
Loud?
Yeah, it's pretty bold. I mean, I wouldn't call that a pastel, I guess is what I'm saying. We tried to lean towards the more.
you're talking about the orange.
The orange, yes.
If there was lighter,
Well, I would, yeah, I
Or
think,
is there a picture of a house
With
that
that
has
on
this?
has a house
That we
been
can
done
see.
like this?
not in the town.
Not in the
No, they're
No,
in
but I
Bermuda.
mean,
I
in
understand.
Bermuda,
Yeah, but that's.
I can ask them if they have a picture of the house that they love,
that they love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and bring that in.
Listen, I was in Bermuda 9 months ago. It's got a lot of color in Bermuda.
Right, they either do the whole thing white with bright colors, or they use a bright color on the house and do a white roof and do white shutters. So it's one or the other. So I don't think they're going away from the style, they're following the true architecture, but I understand that it's a bright color and it's difficult, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
We did not have a staff report that actually gave a recommendation on this one. I think there's a lot of subjective interpretation of what bright orange means.
Yeah.
And so there is a section in our code, section 70-102, talking about shutters and awnings. And this is the, if you recall, the preferred, discouraged, and prohibited sections that we used to have. And now discouraged items are now prohibited. And so I'll just read you what is now under the prohibited section of this, section 70-102. Used to say discouraged, now it's prohibited, and one of the bullets here says non-traditional shutter colors. So again, that's to me, it's a matter of interpretation whether what do you, if you find it or look at this as a traditional color.
It depends where you are also. It would be traditional if you're
In Bermuda.
That's-
Yeah,
that's-
yeah,
that's
right.
true, and so what I was gonna say is that it would, to me, it would be whether it's traditional color in the core area. The second bullet point here is under prohibited, as it used to be, extremely bright colors, for example, magenta, yellow, orange, bright orange, lime green, and bright reds, and fluorescent colors. So I just wanted to read to you what the code says. I can make a copy of this so you can have it in front of you. And again, to me, ask 5 of us whether that's considered bright orange or not, and you might get 5 different answers.
Okay, it would really, Rusty, you don't really need to give us architectural drawings, but maybe they could round up some pictures of it or something. I mean, I'd love to see it on that. I can tell you this, if we agree with the, what'd you call it, Sherbert?
Right, with the Sherbert.
Sherbert, okay. We're gonna hear about it when the
No,
house is painted, okay?
you will,
I mean,
and
everybody
that's-
in town, they're
Yeah.
gonna get the calls, we're all
And then
gonna get
we're
calls,
neighbors,
okay?
yeah.
What have you done? Why
Yeah,
did you?
Oh my God.
So
I bet you
I think that we need to,
Oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. The other comment I want to say, and I'm just trying to give you information that might help you make some decisions here, is in going out on the golf cart, which I do almost every other day out in the neighborhood, the house that is due north of this house is white with shutters that are pretty much that same color.
Oh, we're wrong, look at it then.
That are orange?
No, the other color.
Oh, they're in.
Oh, yeah, the green.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, white/green.
Yeah.
So,
Is there, is there a chance,
No,
is there a chance we can see a picture of a real house with those shutters on it, or they saw it in
With
Bermuda?
right.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sure I can get them to provide a picture.
Well, also, let me, I see those paint wheels, we all looked at them, there's like, 18 different shades of that, can't you just kind of crank that down 3 or 4, notches?
Absolutely.
Just a
Absolutely.
thought.
I can talk to them and see. I mean, they might just say, forget it, and we'll just go with the mint.
Mhm. Right, no, they don't want to
be done and be done with it. They don't want to offend anybody. They want to.
Yeah,
They're going to live here. They want everybody to like it. They just love that house.
Right.
And that's what it is.
I
So I could get pictures.
kind of where they're coming from, I just, there's
And I
standards
don't
on
want, at the same time, I don't want you getting the calls saying that, what is this and that either. So
Rusty, is there a paint chip or something that would be called burnt orange?
that's sort of what this is.
That's what that is?
That's sort of what
That
that
could be
is.
darker though.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, burnt orange.
As a
is
graduate
brown.
of the University of Texas, our
That's
color is burnt orange.
That's what I was gonna
That's
say.
what
No, I know burnt orange, that's not burnt orange. I'll bring in burnt orange.
We said there
His
were
car is colored burnt.
Yeah, you said there were 5 different opinions of that. I think we can say what the opinion
Right.
is in the moment.
Right,
Yes.
yes.
Change.
So, okay, I'll put my pen's worth in. I think that's too bright. So,
And actually, in talking with Rita this morning, I brought up the analogy, the difference between the University of Texas at Austin and University of Tennessee.
Beautiful, oh, yeah,
There's a
yeah,
difference,
yeah.
yeah,
And those
Big
are
difference.
two different orange
Two
colors.
different
My
orange,
daughter
very good.
went to the University of Texas, so I know what burnt orange is.
Right.
I have a lot of shirts.
Rusty, I don't think we need to vote on it, I think we're just recommending as a committee that you need to come back to us with some alternative, either
No,
in
let's-
the orange or stick with the mint.
Stick with, if, that's what I just wanted to get on the record, if we stick with the mint, we don't have to come back. If we want to
fine.
still pursue the sherbet orange, burnt orange color, then I'd have to come back with pictures
Yeah,
of
I
that.
wouldn't go,
And a lighter.
I wouldn't go to darker.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
going darker, I go light.
lean in
I
the
go
other
light,
direction.
absolutely.
as Tom said, make it more and more pastel.
Yes,
Yeah, lighter, lighter.
No, no, I-
Put some
I-
white- Put some white in the mix, yeah.
absolutely. If you look at the color chip, I think it's sitting over there, is lighter than this. It just looks painted color.
Here's,
Oh, yeah.
here it is in metal, which is what the shutters would be made of.
That's okay.
It's still too dark.
Yeah, yeah.
When you put it up against a white home, it's gonna be white home.
Yes.
what's that little area right on Gulfstream Road? Is that parking courts? Or-
Yes.
Yeah, that's it, okay, just
Parking courts
for,
for parallel parking to keep the people off the road.
okay, cause they have a couple car garage, I remember.
They have a 2-car garage
Okay.
and 3 spaces actually over the
Yeah.
middle.
Okay,
Yes, so it's just a,
it's looking great, by the way.
thank you.
Do we need to make a motion?
No.
Oh. No, but we said that don't come back if.
Okay,
I mean, if you're gonna, this is just my suggestion, you know, in our general, guidelines, architectural guidelines, I mean, you know, it talks about diversity, and so I just wanna make sure, and maybe you can drive by and see the house that's due north of it that has the shutters that are basically almost the same color as the mint. And I don't know if, I mean, we've had discussions at the commission level on an application that came in and totally on another street, and there was a concern that the new application looked just like the one that they are already living in. So, it's just comments
The,
to think
if
about.
I could interject, when we got that approved, the house next door had different color shutters. If I remember correctly.
It very well could.
Yeah, there was, somebody was buying it and they were
Yeah.
redoing it and
Oh,
did it, and
right.
we had, so when we got this approved, those shutters might have been, I think it was a light blue or something.
Yeah, they very well could have been.
It's for sale, I think, right?
I think,
I think
immediately north of it.
Yeah.
It's immediately north of it.
Yeah, yeah.
We can make a motion to disapprove that, or we can just tell Rusty that we'd like you to come back again with an alternative.
if we wanna go with.
If you wanna go with
If the mint, they can just go ahead with the mint,
Correct,
so
it's already been
I'll call
approved,
them and discuss that.
Is that okay, Greg? We need you want us to have a motion to deny?
You want to formalise that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
I'll make a motion. On the samples that were presented, I'd like to make a motion that on the 2 samples that were presented today, if the owners of the property decide to go ahead with the green, the board accepts it and they can move forward. If the owners wish to pursue the potential of having orange shutters, that we need to come back with a different colour in that, and photographs.
Okay, it's been moved, for a second,
Second.
moved and seconded.
So I have a question, I'm sorry. So, okay, so you're making a motion with direction, but they're still coming back?
No, we said only if it's orange. Only if the owners want to do the orange. If it's the green, we've said.
If they want to do other than mint.
Yeah.
Any other color, if
That sounds
you decide to go to pale yellow or pale, lavender or whatever, I think.
Okay, I understand.
But this is in the form of a recommendation, is it not?
You mean from the
It's
staff?
I think it's a clear
It was
direction.
supposed to go to the commission.
Oh, that's right, yes, I mean, I believe it's,
So it would have to come back to us first before it goes to the commission.
well, I mean, if you make a recommendation today and he hasn't, and they haven't come back with a picture or a variant from that, I mean, it'll go on to the next town commission meeting.
Can I ask a question? If we go with the mint green, we don't have to go back to commission or anything.
Yes.
That was previously approved. It's just for I just wanna make it clear, it's just for the
It
other color.
wasn't approved. The commission voted for the same thing as you voted
We
for,
wanted to see it.
that they would come back, period.
Your email says, yeah, and the town commission conditioned their approval on deciding the color of the shutters at the end of the construction, so both the ARPB and the commission conditioned their approval on coming back, so.
Yes.
So we're approving the mint.
You're recommending it,
Recommending.
To the town commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
so your motion needs to, say that you're recommending
Okay.
to the town commission.
So I formally withdraw the previous motion. I'd like to make a new motion that should the client decide to go ahead with the mint shutters, we recommend that they are approved. However, if the owner of the property wishes to move forward with another colour, including the orange, they have to come back to this board with pictures and examples of the colour they wish to use on the property.
Second?
Question, second.
All right, moved and seconded, Rita?
Mr. Doherty.
Yes.
Mr. Murphy.
Yes.
Mr. Roche.
Yes.
Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
Chairman Smith.
Yes. Thank you, Rusty.
Thank you.
So can I just, I'm sorry,
No,
sorry,
sorry.
I'm talking way too much here. So we can just be clear. So, if they do find a variant of that or a picture of it, don't they need to advise the staff before we put it on the town commission agenda?
It would go to staff, then to us,
Yeah,
and then to the
it goes back
town.
to you and then it comes here.
Just like
Yeah,
the-
just wanna make sure everybody's on
Yeah.
the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they decide to go with the minutes,
Right.
then it goes on to the
Straight
commission.
to straight to the commission.
I think you can take this with you, troublemaker.
That's fine. You want to take the other chips too?
No,
No,
yeah.
I got those are mine.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rusty.
Are there a few more things here? Are there any items from staff to come before the meeting? Anybody, board member have anything to bring to the meeting? No? Public disappeared. We are adjourned. Thank you, Merry Christmas,
Tom.
everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Same to you.